Hey everyone, Daniel Incandela here. After 3 years of writing newsletters, I'm bringing back something I did initially when I started writing, and that's video interviews. And I'm thrilled to have with me today Michael Sykes, who is the author of The Kicks You Wear, I think the first newsletter I ever subscribed to on Substack. So I'm having a bit of a fanboy moment. Welcome, Michael. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me, Daniel. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. We can kick right off, pun intended, with your origin story. Like, how did your newsletter come to life, and what made sneakers your medium for storytelling?
So I've always loved sneakers, even like I would say even when I didn't know I did. Like it kind of starts for me back in high school. I always tell people the first sneaker that I bought with my own money was a pair of Aqua 8s, the Air Jordan 8s in 2007. And like I was just going through the neighborhood mowing lawns and everything, you know, the stuff that you would do back then to like get just enough money to go to the store and buy a game or whatever. But for me it was just sneakers. And like that kind of started, that's where I realized that like I was really into this stuff. But I've kind of always like been there. My parents, you know, we were like, we weren't rich growing up, but they were we were fortunate enough, like they could buy me a pair of shoes at the beginning of every school year. And it wasn't like, you know, a pair of J's or whatever. Like it would be like if it was Jordans, it was like the Team Jordans or whatever, like the more affordable versions, or like pairs of New Balances or whatever, 574s. So, you know, it was like the signs have always been there. But then once I got those Aqua 8s, like it was the feeling of confidence that those shoes gave me, and sort of the swagger that I was able to carry, because like I had my J's, man, and I bought them. Like this wasn't something that my parents did for me. Like I did this. Like I just that's where the bug really kicked in for me. And so yeah, I would say that's my villain origin story right there.
I love it. I was checking out your site earlier. You've written over 400 editions.
Yeah,
like well over 400. When did you actually start, and what inspired you to say, okay, I'm going to put pen to paper, so to speak?
I started The Kicks You Wear in October of 2019. I kind of got to go back a little bit before that though. So like I started sort of I'm a sports reporter at heart. Like I've always been a sports reporter at pretty much every stop that I've worked with or worked at one way or another. SB Nation in 2017, I was covering the Washington Wizards. I'm in the DC area locally, and John Wall was here. He had a signature sneaker deal with Adidas, and so during a staff meeting with one of my editors at the time, he suggested, like, we were looking for different ways that we could sort of break through with the coverage on the Wizards, because the Wizards were starting to like bubble up, like the team was like moderately good or whatever, and Wall was young and Beal was young, and they were like nationally growing as a pairing. And so the thing that I came up with, and the thing that we agreed would be interesting, was to cover like John Wall's signature sneaker deal. And so we did that. Like I figured out sort of like how to introduce people to the world of the footwear industry and sneaker culture through that story. And so we would do stories like, you know, what are the different types of signatures, sneaker deals, and you know, when the Lonzo Ball stuff was happening with the Big Baller brand, I was kind of all over that as well, from like a national standpoint. And then there was the at the same time, like Nike was negotiating a new deal with the NBA to be their official jersey partner, and so we covered that as well. And so like, so I parlayed that into a job with Axios in 2018, where I started off in politics, but we eventually launched a sports newsletter that I worked on with Kendall Baker, and we covered, I mean, literally every sport under the sun, whatever from NFL to like lacrosse and pool and cricket or whatever. Like we would do everything. And so my political coverage and my business coverage kind of like I upped my game in those categories at that spot. And then I would cover sports betting and the footwear industry occasionally there when like stories popped up. But then I kind of wanted to go back to covering like sports like from a general perspective and not like the niches of it. So I went to For the Win at USA Today in 2019, but I also wanted to keep doing newsletters. Mm-hmm. And this is where the Kicks You Wear came in. It was something I started to sort of keep those skills sharp, the newsletter skills sharp that I developed at Axios. And I also wanted to do it on something that I loved, and what better to do it on than sneakers. Like I found a niche, I found something that I was interested in that not too many other people were covering. And I wanted to see the coverage of like the industry from both a business and cultural perspective that just wasn't really there when I would open up, say, Complex, for example. Like they have the culture part, not necessarily the business part. I go to Footwear News and they've got the business down, but they don't necessarily have the culture all the way down. And so I was like, is there a way that these two things can be married, and why isn't that here? And then I was like, well, there are platforms available. I can just try and build it out myself. And so that's how I launched the Kicks You Wear. October 2019, the first issue that I sent out was one about it was about signature shoes and why a Zion Williamson signature shoe might not work. And here we are, a Zion shoe isn't working. And it's the rest is history.
Amazing. So how do you balance that storytelling with the news, the analysis, and the cultural side?
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of just like throughout the week I will make notes of things that are going on in the industry, right? It's like I try to read everything. Like I take a couple hours every day, typically in the morning, to just like go across the internet and look for things that are interesting enough to write about or to call people about or whatever. And like whatever is the most interesting thing to me is the thing that I will cover. Like there are times where there are things that are like that will take precedent. For example, like the stuff with the tariffs over these last couple of weeks. It's like that's something that is impacting the industry. It's it's impacting multiple industries. It's a news peg. It has, pretty much everything you could want as far as like a news story goes, as far as general interest goes or whatever. So like that's something that is like you kind of have to do that because the moment sort of calls for it, and the story is just that big. But then there are times where it's like the latest edition where I talk about how Travis Scott seems to not like retro anymore, and that's a bit of a more of a niche angle, something that I think the sneakerheadiest of sneakerheads will understand. Like they will get that, but it might be something that's a little more it's a little more nuanced than like the casual sneaker lover might be into. And so like those are the stories that I kind of try to take and like break down a little bit more for people to sort of help them understand where we're coming from in the footwear industry and where things are sort of going now and where they're landing. So it's like it really is just kind of like I don't want to say like I'm flying by the seat of my pants, but I kind of am, because it's like you just go out there, you see what's interesting, and then like you figure out the best way to cover it and how hard you need to hit the subject.
Yep. And do you learn from your readers at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All the time. There's so many conversations that I have with people who, because like I'm someone who like I've got experiences as a reporter. I've been doing this for over a decade now. And so like there are things I know how to do my job, and I'm smart about these industries that I cover, whether it's, you know, sports, basketball, football, footwear, retail, whatever. But at the same time, I know I don't know everything. Like there are people out there who actually do these jobs and are actually in these fields while I'm over here sort of reporting on them. And so like when people reach out to me and say, hey, like you may have read this a little bit wrong, or there's this angle here that you're missing, or whatever, like I am always receptive to that 100%. Like I honestly encourage that, because I personally want to learn more about this industry so that I can tell or can help usher other readers along who might be like me and might have missed this angle also, you know. And so like there are so many times where I'm just like having conversations with people in my Substack messages and in the emails about these different things, and they're like, hey, like that's a really good point that you made, but like you can actually stretch it a little bit further right here or whatever. And so I honestly love that stuff, and I that's why I always put at the bottom, like if you want to reach out and send an email or a message or whatever, please do, because like I'm just always eager to get that sort of feedback.
That's awesome. You mentioned tariffs a minute ago, and it's a lot of whiplash with that right now. But what's your take? It can't be good, right, for sneakers?
Yeah, I mean the footwear industry is definitely reeling right now. I will say it's been rough from the folks that I've spoken with. The interview that I did the other day with Matt Priest, who's the president of the FDRA. The picture that he painted was a very bleak one that might actually be a little bit more bleak than I honestly anticipated, because the thing is like, so the kicks you wear and you know, generally like most like trade outlets or whatever will cover like the bigger companies, right? Like we'll talk about Nike, Adidas, Puma, Under Armour, New Balance, whatever, the sportswear brands that we all know and love, because those are the ones that drive the industry. But then sort of you go to the second and third tier companies in the industry, and you realize how deeply they could be impacted as well, especially from the perspective of those companies that do already manufacture product in America, because that's like the idea behind the tariffs, right? It's like the Trump administration is trying to encourage more companies to bring their manufacturing arms into the United States to make their goods here or whatever. And I think you know, in a vacuum, that is that's a fine goal to have, right? Like that's something that like if you want to bring manufacturing back here, cool. It's been decades since that's been a thing. It's going to take decades to make that happen again. But if you want to, like, if this is something that you would like to encourage, all right. But there are ways to sort of do that without sort of upending everything while you're trying to do it, because you're taking a shotgun to a dartboard, you know. And it's like the way that they're looking at what manufacturing in America is, I think is just totally incorrect. And Matt actually called that out in the interview. He's like, there are a lot of companies, because FDRA works with a lot of companies that manufacture in America as is, but the thing is that the materials that they use to put their products together, the machinery that they use to stitch everything or whatever, the just all of the essentials that they have are things that are imported from all these different places. And when you've got 46% tariff on Vietnam and 40+% tariff on Cambodia and Indonesia, and you've got a 145% tariff on China or whatever, like those things are going to cost a lot more for these made in America manufacturers here. And when those things cost a lot more, it's going to cost a lot more for the consumer as well, because the company is not just going to be able to just pay that cost by osmosis. Like somebody's going to have to pay for that, and it usually falls down to the consumer. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Where it goes from here, nobody really knows, because the president has been just so back and forth with everything that it's hard to even predict what the next steps could be. Like now we're in this 90-day tariff pause where like across the board there's 10%, except for with China where there's 145%. But a 10% tariff is still like a lot, y'all. Like it's not like, that's not nothing, and so like there's still just grave concern across the industry that I just don't think is going anywhere anytime soon.
Yep. Thank you. That's what I love about your newsletter. It's also like a business journal for the industry, and I've learned that much too. Sneakers has this creative connection to other spaces, art, sports, music. Do you have a favorite sort of interaction there, or when that happens?
I think I'd say sport, just because like that's where it all started for me. But I do have to admit that like when there is a sneaker that like crosses over into the art world, because the art world is so mystifying to me. Like I love art. I really don't know that much about it, but I just love seeing people's creativity coming to life. And when that happens with the sneaker, like it's always so impressive to me, because like sneakers are compact canvases in some of these cases. And it's like, I don't even like the Nina Chanel Air Jordan 3 that came out last year, for example, even the Jordan 2 that she dropped in I think it was 2021 or 2022. Those pieces are just so incredible to me, because you can sort of see her influence and her art style on those sneakers, and it's just so impressive that like she was able to translate it in that way. And then there's like the collaborators who do storytelling so well, who are able to like communicate these interesting stories through these sneakers. It's fascinating. That's why like I'm such a big fan of Joe Freshgoods, because like he's been able to tell so many stories through the sneakers over and over and over again that like I can relate to, I can connect with. And even the latest one with the the Age Well 992, like that's a play on the first sneaker that he ever released with New Balance. I was just like, I was blown away when I first connected those dots, because it's like, wow, like this is actually like if the sneaker were to actually age in a way, if the original shoe were to actually age in a way, it would look something like the one that you just released. And like that's just an interesting story. Like it's an interesting way to share your timeline. So like I think sports is always going to kind of be my thing. Anytime you see a good like basketball shoe that's just like, it just looks great and you can wear it wherever, whether you're on the court or you're going to kick it with your homies or whatever. Like, I think that's always cool, which is why I'm so excited to see sort of the renaissance that we're seeing right now in that space. But the art, the storytelling, like I just love that sort of thing so much.
Yeah. Thank you. If you could design your own sneaker collaboration, what would you do?
I think about this so much, and I don't have a good answer for it, because it's like there's so much that I would want to do. I think for me, like, I'm kind of a simple guy as far as like, I'm not like, I could never put together something like a Nina Chanel Jordan 3. Like, that's something I couldn't see myself doing. I just don't know if I have the creative bone in my body to do that. Like, artistically, I've never been able to like draw or anything like that. So like, I think that for me, I would, if I could make a sneaker, the color palette would be crazy. It'd be pastels. It'd be like, I'm talking like bright orange, yellow, some purple in there or something. I think honestly, I would love to do, this is going to sound super played out, but I would love to do like a Nike Dunk of some sort. The Dunk was like the first, I remember, oh my God, one of the best pairs of shoes that I've ever owned, and I'm so sad that I just beat them to death, was the Skate or Die Nike SBs that came out in like, oh my goodness, what was it? I want to say it was like 2005 or 2006. It was like a late 2000s Dunk that came out, and the shoe is like, it's the colorway is, it's like turquoise, orange, yellow, and black, and it's like made, it was inspired by this old NES game that came out in like the 80s.
I played that game.
Oh, you played the game. So then the color palette, and so like that was that. When I actually got the shoe, I had no idea about the backstory. It was just the colors just stuck out to me so much, and like they had the little like design patterns from the game on there. And so like seeing that shoe, that's one of my grail sneakers. I love that shoe to death. And like, I think I would want to make something that is like, that pops in color the same way that one did. Would it be inspired by a video game? I have no idea. I doubt it. Like, I don't know, but it would be something like that. I think if I could do it, if I ever make a shoe, like it'd be that sort of shoe.
I mean, based on how you're going, it's not unrealistic to think that could happen. So
I appreciate
you need to figure that out. What's like a funny or innovative shoe that people may not know about? Like, I think about the old school kangaroos that had the zipper pouch, or the Reebok pumps, which were super cool. Any other shoes coming to mind that we may have forgotten?
One shoe that I think about a lot, or really, it's not even just the shoe, it's just the technology, is the Converse React Juice that they had back in the 90s in some of their basketball sneakers. And that was like the Larry Johnson, like grandmama era or whatever. And like, that's a shoe, like I'm just endlessly fascinated by that sneaker, because I remember like listening to there was some ESPN podcast, or maybe it was like on the radio or whatever, like Tim Legler, who's like a basketball analyst for ESPN. He told this story about when he was on the Wizards in the 90s, and like Chris Webber was there or whatever, that like Chris Webber was wearing a pair of Converse Reacts, and like they were leaking all over the court. And so like the court was just so slippery because like this liquid gas that they put in the shoe to make it like more bouncy or whatever, to provide that cushion, was all over the court. And I'm just like, like that's just so fascinating to me for so many different reasons. Because like, of course, these shoes are going to leak at some point. Like it's a liquid in a shoe. Like I don't expect that to like that's something that like I just don't know if it's like the most practical thought. But at the same time, like the fact that Converse developed it and put it out there is something that is like I mean, they thought it was going to work. So like maybe it's me. Maybe I'm tripping. But like that's something that like I really, as we see things sort of like come and go in the industry with like Nike Air and New Balance Absorb and Nike's React or Adidas Boost or whatever. Like I'm really waiting for somebody. Like I'm waiting for the next brand to be like, you know what, we're putting juice in our shoes again. We're doing that. Like we're doing that because things recycle all the time. Like now you see the Nike Shocks are coming back, and like that's the thing again. And everything retros at one point or another. I'm waiting for somebody to bring back the React juice. Bring back the React juice, somebody.
That should be you. That's your shoe.
I would not wear a React juice, but I would like to see somebody do that.
All right, couple more questions, and they're kind of linked. So, what are your top 3 sneakers of all time? And then for someone watching this, if they were starting a sneaker collection, what are the must-haves?
Top 3 for me. This is tough. The Dunk would have to be one, I think. Like just I don't want to be general with it. I don't want to be corny and like pick silhouettes. I mean, yeah, just a general silhouette. So I'll pick a specific Dunk. I think I'll say the my number 1 shoe is probably, this is my favorite shoe. It's probably the 05 Nike Dunk Ray Guns that were like based off of the Roswell Ray Gun like fake basketball team or whatever. Like that's a shoe that like that was like, I just remember I'm a child of the blog era, and like I remember seeing like Wale in those shoes and being like, I need to get those. And that's another one of my grails that I will probably never get. Number 2, I'm gonna say, this is tough. I'll say the black cement Air Jordan 3, which I actually just bought my first pair of last year. That's just a top, that might be the best shoe of all time, honestly. It's just so ubiquitous and like it's just a from like a cultural perspective, like when I think of a sneakerhead, like that's sort of the shoe that pops into my mind. And then number 3, I'm gonna say the gray New Balance 992, which is a very simple shoe. It's not there. There's no frills. It's just like a gray shoe or whatever. But like that's like in DC, the New Balance is a cultural staple in DC. So I grew up seeing everybody in these sneakers, and like those are the sneakers that you like grow up wanting. You know, it's like you see, I saw my older cousins in them, I saw their friends in them, like that's what they were wearing in high school. And like it's not the most exciting sneaker. But it was sort of a status symbol here because of one, like how cool it was, and the people who were wearing it, but it was also like one of the first like $100+ shoes that I knew of. So it was almost like a luxury item back in the day. And so like that's a shoe that I'll always remember. Like no matter what, everything else could go, but if I got a pair of gray 992s, I'm good. I can do something with that.
Okay.
What was the second question?
for someone starting out a sneaker collection, what are good investments?
Good investments, like as far as like resale or like
Someone looking to build a really good collection.
look at a really good collection. I would say, first of all, I think if you want to build a collection to wear it, like you gotta sort of know what you gotta know what you like, right?
Yep.
And you gotta sort of stick to that, because like there's a thing in sneaker culture where like everybody there's the FOMO aspect of it these days, where like everything drops all the time and you kind of want in on it all, but you got to realize that like being in on all of that is probably not worth it, because you only got 2 feet, and if you have 3,000 pairs of sneakers, you're probably not going to end up wearing them all, and some of them are bound to like crumble and fade away or whatever. And so like I think just one, investing in the sneakers that you genuinely love is the most important part about developing a collection that you actually are going to wear. I think if you want one that's like if you want one that's like you want to be the dude who like makes everybody's heads turn or whatever at the party, then like maybe just go and buy, like you definitely got to get a pair of black cement 3s, in my opinion. Like that's sort of your go-to. I think.
Yep.
That's like the base level. But then like you gotta go and you gotta get into all the bots and stuff, and you gotta get the subscriptions to help you get the sneakers easier or whatever. And you just gotta buy the hype, man. You gotta buy the hype. And like that's not me. I don't do that personally. Like that's not my bag, but you can make a pretty penny off of buying the hype if you want to. Like
Yep.
I used to hate resellers. I don't necessarily hate them anymore. Like that's probably partially because it's just easier to buy shoes now. It's not at the fever pitch that it was back in like 2020 or whatever. But like reselling, I think is fine. Like you can, if you want to buy a shoe to flip it and like get something else that you love, then like I don't necessarily think that that's like a terrible thing or whatever. So I think if there's not necessarily like a go-to resale shoe that I would say that like will work for people if you wanted to like flip the sneakers and like turn them into money or whatever. But like if you just follow the hype, I think you'll figure it out.
That sneakers app has hurt me.
God. Sir, it's hurt us all. It's hurt us all. It's the worst thing in the world.
I've never wanted, never, ever. Well, thank you for coming and joining me today, sharing your wisdom. Any final thoughts before I hit stop record here?
No, I mean, first of all, just thank you for having me on. Like, I really appreciate it. This was definitely fun and a treat for me. I think anybody who wants to get into sneakers, like, again, I would just say that like you should buy what you love. Realize that you don't necessarily need any of these, and just sort of go into it with that mentality. I think you'll love the space as much as I do. And that's the most important part about it, is just sort of finding that love in it. If you can do that, then I think you'll stick around for a while.
Well put. Well, thank you for sharing your creativity and talents with all of us. I will plug your newsletter to everyone, but thanks again.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.